as many as possible because I know sometimes I like to talk and it goes really late. So.
Okay, the first question is smoking weed okay?
Is smoking weed okay? The question was. Yeah. Okay, sorry. You could just say smoking okay, but I don't know. Chrysanthe, you want to try to answer that question?
No, it's not okay. Any kind of smoking
Done.
is not okay. Next question.
Want to say why? No.
You're the priest.
I don't know.
It's a sin?
You're a bona fide university student from the wild. That's why I have you here.
Oh, because it's a sin, guys. We're
Why?
not allowed. You're the priest. Why is it?
Yeah. So okay. We're off to a good start. It's okay. So the question is it okay? I guess besides the fact that we're doing harm to our bodies, right? Which of course, okay, lots of things do harm to our bodies, and we try to avoid intentional harm because the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. So I always say it's like your body is like a rental car. You know when you rent who's rented a car before? Anyone know? No one here has rented a car before? Okay, so let me okay, one. Okay, so just so you know, when you go and you rent a car, they do a thing. It's like a 30-point inspection. The company, they look at the car in the condition that they're giving it to you, right? And they check off if there's like any dings, like whatever. So they know the exact condition that they're giving it to you in. Why? Because when you bring it back, they're going to do the 30-point inspection again to see if you messed it up, so they can charge you money. Okay, so your body is like that. It's not yours. So throw that idea out of your mind. You didn't make yourself. Someone else made you, right? God's giving you this body. So it's a rental, guys. You have it for as many years as God gives you until you die. And then you got to give it back. And the condition that you give it back is gonna play a role on the judgment. So the body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, so we're supposed to take care of it. Most of us don't. We abuse our bodies in many different ways. It doesn't have to be weed or smoking, like cigarettes or drugs or whatever, or anything else that we do, or overeating, all the different things we do, but we abuse our bodies. So the point is that the goal is to take care of our bodies and to try to keep them as healthy as possible. Beyond that, as far as when it comes to weed, the other question you have to ask yourself is that, well, even if it didn't do any harm to my body physically, as far as the smoke, why am I using it? What am I escaping? That's the question. Like, what am I medicating? You have to ask yourself that too. Like, what is it about life that I can't handle, that I need a boost, or I need something to soften the anxiety or the stress? Because really that's what it is. Like, nobody's smoking weed just for the fun of it if their life is amazing, right? It's always, everybody I know that is dealing with this, it's because there's a problem. I need it to de-stress. I need it to relax. I need it to escape whatever I'm dealing with. University is huge because of the stress. I get it. And it doesn't have to be weed. It can be other things too, of course, right? But the question we have to ask ourselves as Orthodox Christians is like, okay, why can I not handle the stress with other ways that are helpful to me, and why do I have to resort to that? Right? I don't know, you went to university. Did you ever get tempted?
No, I actually never did.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah, because I was an athlete, so first of all, so I obviously couldn't do that. But exactly what he said, our body is our temple. So I didn't engage in anything like that.
Shortest answer I could give, sorry.
Okay, next one. This one is geared towards Chrysanthe. How did you balance attending services regularly while being in school? What should I do to be a good Christian and a good person, and how should I be?
That's multiple questions.
So I'll address the first one first, about going to church. Going to church was honestly like a non-negotiable for me. Like, going to church was the same as eating, sleeping. It was part of my routine. Oftentimes with schoolwork, your task grows to the amount of time that you have. So if you don't have anything that you do outside of school, like an assignment that could take you an hour could take you 10 hours if you have 10 hours to do it. So you need to have structure in your life, and church helped provide that structure for me. So yeah, it's a non-negotiable. You should always go just so that you have that structure, and just because it's like you need that spiritual escape. You need to partake in the sacraments. Yeah. Can you tell me the second part of the question?
How can I be a good Orthodox Christian?
What should I do to be a good Christian and while in university and a good person, and how should I be?
So something that I personally did was I had a really good friend group, honestly. Like most of my friends were Christian for the most part, but they weren't Christians that were just Christian like in name. Like they actually lived like a pious life. They actually made attempts to not do certain things. And as Father Ted said earlier, you become what you consume. So if I'm consuming or if I'm around people that are doing the wrong things, it'll obviously be easier for me to do the wrong things as well. So that was like probably the biggest thing for me, having good friends. Another thing might sound a bit cliche, but listen to your parents, honestly. Like your parents know what's best for you. Um, they're older than you. They have a lot more wisdom than you. They know things that you don't know. So listen to your parents. Yeah. You have anything to add?
No, that was really good.
Okay, thanks.
Next.
Is it okay to party during Lent? I want to go out clubbing and go out for St. Patrick's Day, but I don't know if that's appropriate.
Oh, you want to answer that? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it okay to party during Lent? So, what are we doing during Great Lent? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Like, what's the purpose of it? The purpose is not to be sad all the time. The purpose is not to be like, super serious all the time. It's just, it's more like, it's not about, is it right or wrong? Like, is there a rule? Like, no partying during Lent, no dancing during, you know what I mean? It's not about that. It's more like, where is my focus? Where's my focus? An example that some of you watch UFC might understand, right? I have a friend actually right now who is a female, and she's fighting in Thailand. One championship is like the UFC of Asia, right? And she's fighting this weekend, right? So her prep for her for her match, like she's super focused. She's laser focused. Like it's like she's eating right. She's like mentally preparing, right? She's not going out and partying. She's not going out and drinking. She's not going out and doing anything that is going to distract her from her single focus, right? Which is to win. I bring that up because she had, it's a preparation for an event, and so you kind of have to like take some time, and we call this training camp, right? When anybody is going to do a match, right? And they're really focused. So it doesn't mean that all the other things that they're cutting out temporarily are bad. It's just they don't want to be distracted from the task at hand. So what is the task at hand during Great Lent? The task at hand is to prepare ourselves for the proper experience of Pascha. That's the goal. And the journey that we're taking during Lent, and it's a big journey, and there's a lot of nuance to it, and there's a lot of things going on. There's themes on Sundays, there's themes during the week, there's great complines on Mondays, there's pre-sanctifies on Wednesdays, there's salutation of the Virgin Mary, which is not part of Great Lent, it's for the Annunciation of the Virgin Mary, but it's, people associate with Lent. Like, there's a lot of themes that are going on there, and we're supposed to be fasting, right? And of course, the fasting is voluntary deprivation, not that food is bad or dancing is bad or anything like that, right? It's just basically we are buckling down. It's our training camp. I always say it's the boot camp of the religious year, right? So that I can hyper focus on the spiritual, so I'm not distracted by the secular, right? So if you understand that, what you're doing, then answer the question for yourself. Should I be going out and clubbing and doing all these other things that most definitely will be distractions from, the avid prayer life, right? Will it suck me back into kind of like decadence and to kind of being, very loose with my spiritual life? Or is it going to reinforce my spiritual life? And that's why we usually stay away from dances and this and that and putting ourselves in situations where we'll have temptations. Because what do you do when you go to the club? It's not the dancing that's the issue. It's like there's going to be alcohol, there's going to be this, there's going to be that, there's going to be the opposite sex. There's going to be all these things that are happening, right? And we're putting ourselves, it's like we're on Mount Athos over here, and suddenly now we're jumping back into the fire, into the distractions. I don't know if that's helpful during Great Lent to do that, right? That's why I don't go to dances. It's like, there's like Greek organizations that are doing dances during Great Lent, and they call me up, Father, can you come bless the meal? I'm like, no. Like, why? I'm like, because I don't go to dances during Great Lent. Why? Because we're not supposed to be doing dances during Great Lent. And partying as if it's already Pascha. It's not Pascha yet. Oscar will be after. Do the party after. It's focused now, right? So I don't go because I don't want to legitimize it. And people don't like me because of it, but it's okay. I don't know. Want to add anything?
You know what? I actually wanted to add something about the last question. Can I do that?
Sure.
So another thing that I did was I really trusted my conscience. I want to read you a quote from St. Maximus the Confessor. He said, "Do not treat your conscience with contempt, for it always advises you to do what is best. It sets before you the will of God and the angels. It frees you from the secret defilements of the heart. And when you depart this life, it grants you the gift of intimacy with God." Like internally, I know you guys know what is right and what is wrong, and it's important that you listen to that. I just want to add that.
It also relates to what we were just talking about too.
Yeah.
So you know you're not supposed to be doing it, but you know I gotta do it anyways. It's
Yeah.
like, what's the loophole for me to party during Great Lent? If the priest said it's okay, I can go do it. You know, it's like doesn't go, right? But I'm just saying, like, right? I don't know. Next one.
How to deal with early relationships in the week before marriage.
How to deal with early
With early relationships in the week before marriage.
in the wait.
In the wait before marriage.
Oh, in the wait before marriage.
Well, I'd say like one of the main things is to not put yourself in like certain situations where you know certain things can happen. That's the main thing. And also like date with intention. Like don't just be talking to a million guys and a million girls. Like date with the goal to marry. I'd been given advice previously that like a relationship shouldn't last. I mean, like that, I don't know if you agree with this, like that long. Like if you shouldn't be dating for like 7 years before you get married, just because, um, just because like you have 7 years for stuff to happen, obviously. So like when you date with intention, things happen pretty swiftly. You try to avoid certain sins, you know. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I actually dated for 7 years, but that wasn't my fault. I met my wife right out of high school. So I was 18 and she was 19. So I had no choice. I had to go through seminary, and then I had to go through like another seminary, and I was away. So, okay, it wasn't ideal. But having said that, it wasn't ideal. I agree with Chrysanthe. Like, it's like the longer. So, two things is that people date, in my opinion, too young, because you can't date with intention to marry if you're not ready to get married yet. In which case, logically, you have to ask the question, why are you dating? To what end? To what purpose? Like, if I'm, I don't know, like 16 years old, right? And I have a girlfriend, or I have a boyfriend, whatever, right? It's like, to what end? To what end? Just to have a relationship that I know will end? Because it will end. When you're 16 years old, you're going to be different than when you're 21. You're a different person. Your brain is different, right? It's going to end. Like, rarely. Even I'm a miracle that I met my wife at 18 and we're still together. 20 years this summer, right? I'm just saying, married, 27 years together. But like, that's rare. You change. You become an adult. You mature. You have different likes. You have different goals. You don't know anything at 16 or 17, right? You're not ready to marry. You don't have a job. You don't have prospects. You don't know what you're going to do. You're not mature, right? So why would I intentionally get into now an emotional kind of a relationship where I'm going to be drawn in emotionally, and then that's going to hurt me when I have to break up with the person, which will happen. And then I'm going to have like trauma. Now, you can't avoid that in the sense that you shouldn't live your life to avoid all trauma and all problems. Like, it's part of growing up. But why would you intentionally like put yourself in multiple relationships that you know are dead ends, which most people do? How many times do your friends, maybe some of you have said this too, I'm not going to call anybody by it, but it's like, well, I'm just dating. She's not for marrying. He's not for marrying. We're just having fun. You guys have all heard this, right? Well, this is like what everybody says. I'm just having fun. What does that mean, just having fun? Like, for me, I look at the relationship, it's like, okay, it's, if you want to use an economic term, it's an investment, right? So if you make an investment, right, you want the investment to grow. You want to get a return on your investment, right? If you're going to use monetary terms, right? So it's like, if I'm going to put energy and emotion and love and all this into a relationship just so that it can go south, because I know it's going to go south because I'm not ready to get married yet, then what's the point? Like, why would I even do that? Because I like them and they like me, right? So you gotta think of it that way. I have 5 points about dating. Can I say them? Okay. I'm giving it away because I was gonna make a video about this, but whatever, right? So I have the Father Ted's 5 points of dating, right? Number one is know who you are. Most people don't know who they are, and that's a problem. So if you don't know who you are, and definitely when you're 16 years old, you don't know who you are. Some people at 40 these days don't know who they are. But I mean, if you know who you are, then that's a lot easier, because if I know who I am and what I want in life and what do I believe, then I can go out and look for the person who is going to be compatible with that. If I don't know who I am and I'm always changing, how do I even know who I need or what I need in my life? So that's one thing. Know who you are. And that, of course, comes with, proper formation, not only just in the church, having a strong spiritual life, being mature, taking on responsibility, all these things, right? Not kind of like just living your life just for fun and not, not knowing where you're going to go. Number two is what Chrysanthe said, which is date with intention. So you're dating with the intention to marry. So that's the criteria. It's like, is this person that I'm dating right now, are they the type of person that I could marry? Do they have the qualities, whether it's a male or a female, right? And of course there should be certain criteria for that. I'm not going to get into all that tonight, but I mean, you should have that in your mind, not I like them, they're attractive, he's attractive, and let's just go with it. And then you find out later on that there's like a bunch of red flags. They don't want kids, or they're non-religious, they're hostile to your, all these problems that come up later because you didn't think about it, because now we've been dating for 2 years, right? So date with intention. Number three, be brutally honest. This is my favorite. First date, say everything. Scare them, make them run away. I'm serious, 100%. Be brutally honest. Actually, not be mean. Don't be mean. Be kind, but be brutally honest even from the get-go when somebody asks you out. So ladies, because let's face it, it's usually the guy asking the lady out. Don't be nice and say yes when you don't want to go out with the guy. Tell them no, right? Like in a nice way. So like if a guy comes up to you and says, "You want to go for a coffee?" And obviously the guy's interested in you, because no guys are asking you to go for a coffee if they don't want to date you. Guys don't work like that. We're very simple, right? Go on, guys, come on, that's true. The guy's not going to bother asking you out if he's not interested romantically. No guy is looking for a friend. None. Zero. Maybe some, but I'm not going to get into that, okay? So, where girls might be looking for a friend, but guys, no, there's no friend. Okay, there's no female friends. Okay, there's just potential mates for guys. Okay, so the guy's asking you to go for coffee. If you're not interested in that way, you should be brutally honest from the get-go and say either, sure, but just so you know, I'm not interested in a relationship right now, a romantic relationship. So if you want to go have a coffee with a friend, that's fine. Or you are interested, and it's a different story, right? But you should be brutally honest, both because you owe it to yourself to protect yourself, but you owe it to the person, to the person who's asking out, to be honest with them, so that you're not leading them on. Because sometimes we're too nice, and then like the guy thinks he has a chance, and he has no chance at all, right? And then like 3 coffees in, he realizes he's in the friend zone. Okay, so don't do that stuff. Just be brutally honest with each other and about what your intentions are. And then again, if you do go on an actual date, it's a date and you're actually interested in the other person, be brutally honest on who you are, what you believe, and what you want out of life. But that goes back to number one. You have to know those things about yourself first before you can articulate them to people. If you don't know those things about yourself, you can't do number 2 and you can't do number 3, right? So, but if you know those things, then first date. So when I first date with my wife, Presidenta Joanna, like literally the first date, it was coffee. We went for coffee and we went to see a movie. It's like 1999. Yeah, it's a long time ago. No. Are we going to 2026 now? Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So 1999, right? First date. I was like, just so you know, I'm going to seminary. I'm probably going to be a priest. It's a difficult life, right? And it involves like probably going to get picked up and moved away from our families and service to the church, both of us, things like that. And this and this and this, and I believe these things, and these are my likes and my dislikes and things like that. Are you okay with that? If you're not, that's okay. I'm not offended, but there's no point in a second date. Because why, right? Thankfully, she was okay with that, right? But if she wasn't, that's okay too. But like, why waste more dates? Why waste Why lie to the person or project or pretend to be the thing that they want because you want to somehow get them to like you, and then 3 months in, you're in love, but you're in love with somebody that you don't, and then in love with somebody that's not really you. So be brutally honest about everything. So number one, know who you are. Number two, date with intention to marry. Number three, be brutally honest. Number four, set clear boundaries for intimacy. We talked about this last time at St. Irene's. Clear boundaries for intimacy. Again, that's a whole night conversation that we could have another time about why that's important and all the horrible things that happen because we don't set boundaries for intimacy, and usually more horrible for females than it is for males, but also bad spiritually, psychologically for males as well. But set clear boundaries for intimacy. This, ladies, again, will show you who's the keeper. Trust me. I'm a guy first, then I'm a priest, right? Put your boundaries, and if the guy respects them and he loves you for who you are and not what they can extract from you, that's the keeper. That's the one who's going to be a good husband. That's the one who's going to be a good father. The one who sacrifices. The one who loves you for who you are. And the only way you can do that is if you have boundaries. If you have no boundaries, you will never know what their agenda is. Enough said on that. Number five, my last one, is pay attention to actions, not words. I don't care what people tell you. Guys and girls, right? Pay attention to what they do, not what they say. Somebody who says they love you, but they don't show up for you. They say they love you, but they're not compassionate. They say they love you, but they don't help you. They're mean in their actions, or they neglect you. Then it doesn't matter what they say. They don't love you. They're selfish. So pay attention to their actions. If they say they're Orthodox Christians, but they don't go to church, they're not Orthodox Christians. Okay? If they say they believe in God, but they live their lives in a way as if they're an atheist, they're not a Christian. Just like I'm not if I don't do those things either. So pay attention to actions, not words. That's my 5 points.
Thank you. Well, I actually have one more point too.
Oh, okay.
Please make sure that you date somebody that is Orthodox. That will save
Yes.
you. Like, that goes without saying, but technically speaking, like, we might date other Christians and things like that. And although they might seem like they're okay with our Orthodox faith in the beginning, oftentimes these people, they might switch up. And
They always switch up.
and you're not able to reconcile the differences. So just to save yourself time and heartache, please, guys, Orthodox Christians only.
Trust me. Yeah, don't worry. We'll baptize the kids in Orthodox. Don't worry, honey. It's okay.
It doesn't work.
And then you're married, and it's like, my mom really wants to make the kids Catholic. And these problems. Trust me. Sorry. All right, next. Sorry. Thank you.
Very similar. If you get into a relationship young, you don't think you should get married young, what should you do? And the person said, I'm scared to be married young. I don't know how to prepare.
What, you just got into the relationship by accident? Like you fell into it? Whoops. I didn't realize it, but this guy just showed up next to me. Don't get into a relationship young. Like, what can I tell you? Like, it's the same thing we were talking about before.
So I was given advice by a priest once, and he said it's better, like, okay, honestly, like, a lot of people, they don't want to get married young because they don't feel like they're ready, like, career-wise, financially. But he said that it's better to work through those things together than to potentially fall into sin and fall into sin. So he said that it's better to get married young, if anything. Like,
yeah, this is counterintuitive today.
Yeah.
Even your parents will tell you the opposite, and your grandparents. Get established, have a job, protect yourself financially, all these things, right? They're not bad things, but like you should do that with your partner. Spouse, not partner. Bad word. You know what I'm saying? Like this idea of like, I need to be established, and the guys do this all the time. They want to have a successful career, they want to make the money, they want to have the house or the condo, whatever, and then they say, now the woman will want me. Now I have something to offer. This is not how it works.
Yeah, build together,
right? Like when I got married, I was 25 years old, guys. I didn't have a job yet because you got to get ordained after you get married. And my wife was just starting off as a teacher. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, and we grow together in everything. You build your home together. You build the career together. If one of you is trying to build something like you're an entrepreneur, for example, or whatever it is, and the spouse helps them, it brings you together. It's adversity, good adversity, right? So you build something together. You don't do it all yourself and then try to share it with the other person. It's backwards, right? So yeah, no, I'm all for younger marriage as long as you're mature for it. I'm not saying like just
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah.
Why is lust so hard to overcome, especially for men? What can we do?
Gee, thanks. Especially for men. Chrysanthe, what do you think about that? Why is it so hard for men and not hard for women?
I feel like you'd be more qualified to answer that.
I'm asking you.
I'm asking you back.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if it's
You're a
harder.
man.
I don't know if it's harder for men. Maybe it is. I don't know. I think a lot of people a lot of you have asked me this question in the past, like even like just kind of privately too. But like I think okay, so don't conflate um, biology with lust. It's important, right? So what do I mean by that? Not everything is lust. I think today, if you're religious, you think every time you have like thoughts of like desire for another person, the opposite sex, we think it's evil. It's not evil. We're built this way. God made us this way. So biologically we're built to mate, right? This is why we have marriage. This is why we procreate, right? So there's a reason why we hit puberty and then we change and then we are interested in the opposite sex. And this is just the way of the world. This is the way of life. So it's normal to be attracted, unless there's something wrong, right? So you're supposed to be attracted to the opposite sex. That's the normal part. Don't confuse that with lust. Lust is the perversion of those feelings. So yeah, you gotta be like, if you're dating somebody, you should be physically attracted to them. It's part of life. If you're not, then it's not gonna work very well, trust me, right? That's the friend zone, okay? It's different, okay? But this is normal, but that's where you kind of like, that's where self-control and temptation come into. So the problem with our society today is that we have shifted marriage to a later age than what it was historically for mankind. So for the thousands of years, right? People always married young, right? So even like I have grandmothers in this parish who got married at 16. Ugh. Yeah, right? It's crazy for us today, just like a generation later, right? Grandmothers, like people who are like in their 60s right now or early 70s, and not that long ago, right? Exactly. So it is like they got married at 16 years old because that was the norm even 50 years ago. Now that grosses us out today because we live in a society where we've been conditioned. I'm not saying go back to that. I know this is on the video. Okay, I'm not saying married at 16. What I'm saying is that just to kind of illustrate for you how recent our shift in mentality has been in society. The reason why people got married younger back in the day, like in the village, was not because they didn't know any better. It's because they were mature. Like people hit puberty, and by the time they came out of puberty, okay, give or take 16, 17, 18, like, that age group, when they're like full adults, they're already mature in their minds in the old days. They were plowing the fields. They were raising children. They were doing things that actually mattered, not like sitting on their phone in the basement, like on TikTok, like, and don't know how to do basic things, right? They were running households. They were doing, the men were working, the women were working, they're working together. Like it was a different world, right? So they were already mature in their minds. They knew what they believed and they knew what their place in the world was. And so, yeah, they got married younger because they were adults younger. But today we've extended adolescence into 40. You have 40-year-old men sitting in the basement of their mother's house. Not just the men, but I mean, most of the men, right? Okay, playing like Xbox. Like, I was married at 25, and it was too late for me. I wish I could have gotten married early, but I had school. So it's here, the mentality, right? What do you want? Who are you, and what do you want? Right? We got to grow up a bit. So this is the how does it tie into lust? Is that it's because we've extended it. Well, the time period where we're biologically supposed to be having babies, which is the way we're built biologically, has been extended now. We're not having babies when we're supposed to. So, but we have the drive, which is implanted in us by God. right? So what do you do with that? What do people do? They fornicate. Because the drive to procreate, the drive to have that kind of intimacy is so strong biologically that it's very hard for us to fight. I'm not saying it's impossible. Of course, we learn, but I mean, that's why it's almost like a losing battle amongst 99% of the Orthodox population. Why they're not waiting until marriage, because marriage is no longer 18. If it was at 18, it's a lot easier to wait till marriage. Because I've only been like, out of adolescence for a few years. But when I've been a mature adult for 10 years, that's a long time to be alone when the drive is to mate. Understand? So that's a societal problem that we have right now, right? And the longer we wait, the harder it is for us to stay chaste, to protect ourselves, male and female. I don't think it's just a male thing. Last time I checked, women were fornicating just as much. You got to fornicate with somebody. Right? You think the males, right? Takes two to tango, right? Is that bad to say in the church? I'm sorry. Spicy? Yeah.
Very spicy.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, so that's why young marriage, maturity early, all these things are so important to protect our hearts, to protect our minds, to protect our souls, to protect our bodies, right? The longer you wait, the harder it is. And the more, I would say, the more damaging experiences we have, right? I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the lust problem.
When I've been listening to secular music during Lent, I've been listening to chants, but I don't know if the music / rap is okay.
Okay. I don't think that the music thing necessarily should change like during Lent versus out of Lent. Like if the music is not appropriate to be listening to during Lent, why would it be appropriate to listen to when we're not in Lent? That's like my short answer. Like if you shouldn't listen to it, you shouldn't listen to it, period. Doesn't matter whether you're in Lent or not in Lent.
Yeah. Discernment. What we listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's good for you, it's good for you.
Yeah.
Good answer.
It's bad, it's bad. It's good, it's good.
It's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Okay. What should we do if our spiritual disturbance is because of our family?
If our spiritual what?
Disturbance.
Disturbance is because of your family?
Because of our family.
Geez, man, like most of spiritual disturbance from our families. So? What you think your family's supposed to be super peaceful and awesome? That's where all the disturbances come from. And who said life was easy? Who said the church was not disturbing? Like I don't understand why people think that everything's supposed to be like perfect and pristine and calm. Like people have this idea of the church, and yes, I understand that you should have like we all hope that we have a good family, supportive family, and sometimes there's dysfunction and there's interesting characters and things like that. And then you just extrapolate that to the church. It's the same thing. So when people come into the church and say, I don't want to go to church because there's hypocrites and they just look at what I wear and there's people who are not very nice and this and that. I'm like, yeah, what do you expect you're going to find at the church? Like you do realize the church is a spiritual hospital, right? Who do you find at the hospital? The sick people. The healthy people don't need a hospital. And we're all sick, spiritually speaking. So part of humility and part of striving together to grow in our faith is to learn how to deal with people that we can't stand, and how to forgive them, and how to have patience, and how to swallow our pride, and how to navigate all those problems. And we can't get into all the different things tonight, like all the different permutations of that. And of course, there are extremes, but these are not problems, these are opportunities to become a better human being.
100%. Like just to build on what he said there. Yeah.
Just build me up here.
Like I feel like a lot of that comes from like a lack of humility. Like if somebody says, like, let's say that like you have a sibling and your sibling tells you to do something and you didn't like it, like why do you get so upset by that? Your lack of humility. And these adversities, they give you the opportunity. You have to be grateful for them because they give you an opportunity to show that you're humble and that you're treating everybody around you with love. Because if everything was fine and dandy all the time, when would you get the chance to show that you're humble? When would you get the chance to show that you forgive people? When would you get the chance to show that you're doing what you should be doing as a Christian? We have to treat this adversity with gratefulness. Be happy that you have the chance to show your stuff, really, like as a Christian. Yeah.
That was better than mine.
How in depth or detailed should your confessions be?
That's a good question. How in depth or detailed should your confessions be? So there's no like general rule for this. I always tell people so most people who have like never confessed before, which is a lot of people, they come for the first time and because they're just not skilled at self, not self-analyzing, but I mean just like watching the self and thinking about our sins and things like that. They don't know where to start. So my general advice at the beginning is always like, okay, group things thematically, because you can't remember every single instance that you did every single sin. So for like, let's say a problem I may have is gluttony. I eat too much food, right? Well, that's a generic statement. It happens all the time, but I can't sit there hours and hours going through every time I overate. It's just, A, it's not practical, and second of all, it's not really helpful spiritually. You just say like, okay, I have the problem of overeating and I do it often. That's enough to say to the priest, for example. So a lot of times, or I have anger issues. I often lose my temper when people challenge me, or I have whatever. So it's better to kind of take the sins that we kind of do, and especially the ones that are habitual, like the so-called everyday sins that we struggle with, and we kind of group them and we talk about them thematically. However, sometimes though, there are specific sins and specific events that happen in our lives that need to be hashed out. We need to talk about them. They're out of the ordinary. They break with the pattern of behavior, and they're really, really heavy. Or they're within the pattern of behavior, but it's like a really big part of that particular tendency or passion, right? And therefore, we need to talk about it. Like I had a conflict, like I had a big fight with my brother or my mother, or I broke up with my boyfriend or my girlfriend, or something happened where I really need to talk about that because it's really gnawing at me, and I need guidance on that specific situation. So that's okay too. You can go into details as well. But again, like just practically speaking, like how many hours are you going to be in confession, right? You need to kind of like learn how to hone in on what are the issues and kind of be direct about it and get it out so that the priest is able to like diagnose and then give the proper spiritual medication.
Is it ever okay to lie? What if it's a white lie? Is the lie wrong even if it hurts nobody? What if I lie? What if I lie about when I submitted my assignment theoretically?
You know what?
Do you crack at it?
That's actually a good question. Like, what if you're lying to like not hurt someone's feelings? For example, like if she says like, "Is my shirt ugly?" and it's ugly, like, and you say no, like.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, so I actually don't know. So,
you don't know?
No.
Yeah, is lying always bad? It's always bad. Every single situation, lying is bad. Do the saints lie? Never. Think about it.
Oh, they do. They do.
They do.
Yeah.
When do the saints lie? I know I said it the other night. That's why I'm seeing who's paying attention. When do the saints lie? Gabriel's like, really? You got that face. When do the saints lie? Yeah. Okay, so the question was, do the saints lie? When do they lie? Give me an example.
Oh, have an example.
How? Different saint.
No, yes, Aya Theodora, like the one that's in Peloponneso with the trees.
That's a different Aya Theodora, not the one we celebrated here.
No, the other
I got
one.
confused. Yeah.
The other one.
Yeah, she pretended to be a man. Okay, yes. To protect her family. Okay, so that's a lie. Yeah. One example. It's a good example. Any other examples of saints lying?
I have one. There
Yes.
was one. I think it was Saint Paisio. He had two like fellow monks that were upset at each other, and so that they wouldn't be mad at each other, he told them that he was like the culprit, that he did whatever they were mad about, so
Yes.
that they wouldn't be mad at each other.
He took responsibility for something he didn't do. It's a lie, technically. It's a falsehood, right? Or just on general level, like saints who had spiritual abilities, like Saint Paisios, Saint Porfirio, a lot of different saints. Like for example, they had clairvoyance; they would know things, right? So sometimes people would go to Saint Porfirio and they were like, we heard, you know things, right? And what would the saint do? Deny it out of humility. The saint would be like, oh yes, I do. I'm awesome. Come here, let me tell you your secrets, right? No, like they would exercise it, but I mean, a lot of times when confronted with being not accused, but I mean observances of their holiness, the saints, out of humility, would say, no, I don't have any abilities. I'm a sinner. Go to someone else. Now that's technically a lie because they know that they have the ability, right? So I bring this up because it's much more nuanced. So along general lines, yes, try not to lie. Generally, lying is bad. But there's always the but. There's always situations and nuances that require discernment where it might be an actual good, the deception, right? I always remember like this kind of old, I don't know if you guys know this, but like, this kind of Greek tendency that, when somebody passes away in a family, right? And maybe there's a family member who's traveling and you don't tell them when you call them up that the person's died so that they don't have any kind of negative experience on their trip back home. They lie to them, they just say, come home quickly, something's happened, but they don't tell them what happened because they're just afraid that the person, out of their heartache, something might happen, right? So they want them to be safe on the road. And this is a very common Greek practice, right? This is a lie. But they would do it out of compassion. They would do it because it's like, let them come home first and then we'll tell them, right? So yeah, there are some situations where deception is, priests lie all the time. Not what you think, right? What do I mean by that? We lie. We hear confessions. Do we talk about the confessions? We shouldn't. We're not supposed to. It's a big no-no, right? So if, let's say, Chrysanthe comes to me and confesses, right? And then, let's say, Ali says, what did Chrysanthe tell you in confession? And I say, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't talk about it. Now, of course, it's an omission. It's not like a direct lie, right? Or Ali can say, did she talk to you about this? Because we talked, it could be an issue, right? And I said, no, I shouldn't say anything. Rightfully so. I should never speak, right? So that's a lie. But it's a lie because I have to lie, because it's nobody's business what Chrysanthe has confessed to me as a spiritual father, let's say, right? So, yeah, sometimes it's nobody's business. So there are some situations, if we're mature, we understand, and we have, again, a good spiritual compass, and we've been formed in the faith, right, where it is legitimately okay. But as a general rule, try to stay away from it. And if you don't know, ask your spiritual father,
After losing someone close to me due to an overdose, I've started to feel disconnected from God. I find myself questioning why God feels in my hands like this happens. It is a toll on my mental health and my school to suffer. How can I keep my relationship with God strong while forgiving? And how should I cope in a healthy way?
Okay, I want to start the answer by reading a quote by Saint Ephrem.
Where'd you find this? Did you know this question before?
No.
So how did you just pop it up this fast?
Secret. Okay, anyways, he said, if God allows us to suffer, there will be some saving purpose behind it, which we mortals can't foresee. There's a book that I read called Life's Difficulties Are Blessings. And honestly, it reframed my whole thinking. Like every difficulty that you go through is God will not allow you to carry a burden that is too heavy for you. It's meant to bring you closer to him. So I'll start by saying, use this to bring you closer to God.
I disagree.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Oh.
I partly disagree. Don't feel bad.
Okay.
So I partially agree with you. I agree with the second half that you said, which is that it can be used to bring you closer to him, and 100% it can and it should. I disagree when we say, and
I don't.
good. I don't. I disagree when we say, a lot of people say, God will not give you a burden that you cannot handle. Most definitely. First of all, God doesn't give you the burden. Let's be clear. God is love. He doesn't give you evil. So I know a lot of people throw these words around. We have to be very, very clear about what we mean by this, right? Evil comes from us, the world, sin. We pollute the world, fallen condition of man, right? We live in a fallen condition. God works through our sin, like he finds ways to touch us and to speak to us and to guide us through our own failures, but we're the ones who are failing. It's not God who's failing. God doesn't give you cancer. I know some people say this. God gave it to you. Really? Because he wanted, you know, like, because your life didn't suck already. Like you needed to have God even. Yeah. This is kind of like a very kind of simplistic way of looking at the faith, right? And it's actually very Protestant, believe it or not, because this idea like God does everything and he's like the puppet master and he controls everything. Yes, God is all knowing, God is all powerful, but we also have free will, and we create a lot of these situations ourselves, right? And so this idea of like that God is not going to give you. No, lots of times we get burdens in our lives that overpower us. That's why we have people who break down, who don't have support systems.
Okay, well, can I read what the book says? Like literally the first page?
Yeah, I understand what the book says, but you can read it. I still
Okay.
disagree with it. Go
Okay.
ahead.
It says, before God decided to send you the cross that you are now carrying, he inspected it with his all-wise eyes. He examined it with his divine logic. He selected it with his infinite righteousness. He warmed it with his loving heart. He weighed it carefully with his merciful hands to confirm that it is not heavier than what you can lift. And having taken into account your strength, he blessed it and placed it on your shoulders. You can carry it. Hold on to it as you ascend from Golgotha to the resurrection.
Mhm.
So like,
I disagree with the book.
okay.
I don't wholly disagree with it. I'm just saying. So I want to finish my thought before you
Oh,
jump
sorry.
back in to defend yourself.
Sorry.
I'm just saying.
Lawyer
So
things.
lawyer. Right? Okay. So I agree. So the sentiment is correct in the sense that you can carry it, but it depends on who we are and our free will, right? So there's a lot of factors there. So it's like, you know, we are very strong as human beings. We have the ability to bear all things, but we choose not to, right? So that's why, like, it's the cow weight that I have, you know, when we say these kind of, they almost become like cliches. God will not give you a cross you can't bear. Okay, great. That does encourage some people, but it doesn't encourage the person who has no support system, doesn't know how to pray, right? And feels completely alone and desolate. And in the end, they fold. They either succumb to mental illness, they succumb to other things, right? And their lives just go downhill, right? So the choice is, of course, ours, right? But it's really important to remind ourselves that if you're not trained to deal with these things, it ain't going to work. You're not going to bear it if you don't pray, if you don't have connection to the sacraments, the sacramental life of the church, if you don't have a good support system around you, the friends that we were talking about before, all these things we've been talking about tonight, right? If you don't have all those things, the support system, most definitely there's things you can't carry because you just don't. Like Christ himself couldn't carry his cross.
It's true.
Physically, you know that, right? He stopped at some point, and who carried it for him? Anyone know?
Simon.
Yeah, Simon of Cyrene. So they compelled, the scripture says they compelled some guy on the side of the road to carry his cross for him because Christ just couldn't do it anymore. That's God. So most definitely there are some crosses where we need help. We need someone else to carry. We need the priest. We need our friend. We need our spirit. You know, we need people. That's what. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like it's not in isolation that, you know, whatever God gives me, you know, I'll be able to carry it. Yeah, maybe if I'm actually strong and if I actually train myself spiritually to do it, and and if I don't do those things, most definitely it can crush me. It can break me, right? That's why we have so much mental health problems today. That's why we have all these horrible things that are happening. That's why we have suicide. We have all these things because people can't carry the cross, but they could if they chose to prepare themselves properly, right? When it actually happens to you and you're unprepared, it's too late. I don't have the ability, right? The preparation happens from years before, right? If you're asking me to fix the problems now, it's too late. Like it's very, very hard. That's what I meant by it, sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
That's all right.
At what age should we move it out of the home?
when you get married?
Well, yeah, like I was gonna say, like culturally, like not even like religiously, like culturally in Greek culture, we don't move out until we're married. So that would be my answer.
It's very backwards, right? No, I agree with you.
Oh,
In our modern day, it's like get out and be independent, things like that, right? But it's connected to what we were talking about earlier. It's like if you're getting married young, then yeah, you don't leave the home until you're getting ready to go off into your new life. Whether you want to have a conversation on whether it's good to not do that and be independent and go off and have your own home and this and that single, and whether that is actually good for you spiritually, that's a different conversation. There's a lot of pros and cons. I think there's more cons than pros in that. Because when you're alone and you have no support system, bad things happen. That's why people tend to live alone and not married. Tend to live generally, not always, but generalizations tend to live a more hedonistic lifestyle because I'm alone. I can do whatever I want. I make my own money, do what I want. I have no dependents. I have nobody to talk to. It's just do what I want. And
no authority.
Yeah, there's no authority. There's no obedience. There's nothing, and it becomes a me-centered lifestyle, right? Not always, but generally speaking.
Can you explain how or if discernment contradicts forgiving and forgetting, or how?
It's two different things. Discernment. If discernment contradicts forgiving and forgetting, so they're two different things. So discernment, at least as I would define it, is that this is the church would define it, is like being able, according to the will of, knowing the will of God in our lives, to see the truth of situations according to God's will, not my will, right? That's different than forgiving, and you don't forget. You don't have to forget to forgive. So I'm not sure if the question was formed like whoever asked the question, but I mean, you can discern that something is bad, or you can discern that somebody, for example, is not good for me in my life, and I don't want to have that friendship continue or that relationship continue because they're just maybe not a nice person, right? You can still forgive them, but you're not obligated to hang out with them if that's the question. It's like, yeah, there's people that don't learn. There's people who don't care. I'm not obligated to hang out with them. I can still pray for them though.
Oh, we have a question.
Yeah.
One reason is that if you don't forget, you haven't really truly
Okay.
you always bring that true.
I think we're talking about a different thing. I think what I could be guessing here, but I mean, no one forgets. You don't have amnesia. You always remember the thing. I think you're not supposed to bring it up. Like you're not supposed to use people's past faults if you've really forgiven them to bring it up in new conversations to hit them over the head with it. That's the thing. It's like, if I forgave you, I'm not going to bring that up again. You remember you did this to me? I'm like, well, you said you forgave me for that. Why are you bringing it up now? That's different. But I mean, physically, you don't forget. You remember. But even if we remember, we can still forgive them and build. But like, it's very nuanced, right? Because you have to use your brain. Like, it's like, if a person has a pattern of behavior, remember we talked about the dating thing, it's like, pay attention to actions, not to words. So if the person's actions is repetitively bad towards me, and they don't change, then I forgive them, I love them, I pray for them, but I'm also wise, right? Like Apostle Paul says, like, be innocent as doves, but wise as serpents, right? Like, don't be stupid. Like, if a person's abusive to me, I'm not going to forget that. Like, I can forgive them, I can love them, I wish them all the best, but you have a pattern of behavior that's abusive, bye-bye. I'm not obligated to be abused by you because I'm going to forget what you did to me yesterday or the month before if I keep doing it. Like, so we have to use our logic, right? So it's a balance between loving the person and accepting them as they are, but also understanding who they are, right? Oh, if that makes sense, but yes. Yeah. Like, I guess you could use that word forgiving as letting go of resentment. But again, I just, when I think of forgetting, I think about memory.
Yeah.
And I think about like, well, I remember what they did. And I would say one more thing. It's actually more beautiful and more righteous and more holy when you love that person even though you know what they did to you. That's beautiful. Like when I know that person, like when you see people who forgive, let's say, the killer who killed their parent or something, like, in the courtroom, whatever, right? They don't forget. They know what they did, and they still forgive them. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's miracle, right? That's love. Yeah.
How to develop discernment. Sorry if it's a dumb question, but sometimes I'm unsure if certain thoughts, ideas, etc. are from God or from me thinking about what God wanted me to do.
Practice.
That's a good question. Uh, like my first thought was how like a lot of other Christians, how they say like, oh, God told me this, God told me that.
Yes.
Like I actually don't know. Like seriously.
Okay. Discernment. The easiest way, it's not easy. Go to church, go to confession, read the scripture, and pray. I know that sounds a lot, both like a lot and also overly simplistic, but it is these things that help us develop what is called the Orthodox ethos. You want to know what ethos means? It's like a mindset. It's a way of thinking.
The phronima.
The phronima, right? I just like ethos. Just sounds cool. Okay. The phronima, the way of thinking, right? So when somebody is immersed in the life of the church, so they are constantly, they're going to church, they're participating in the sacraments, they're receiving Holy Communion, they're going to confession regularly, they speak with their spiritual father, they're reading scripture, they're engaged, then all this works on our mind. We begin to think not with my own selfish desires, but with the mind of the church. Sometimes you hear it called the mind of the fathers, right? But it's the mind of the church. It's like the way the church thinks as a whole, like the 2,000-year-old living tradition. This is the way I want to think. I don't want to be brainwashed. It's not about the brainwash. It's like I have to think this way. But I mean, there's a certain way we look at the world. There's a certain way, and all these things, compassion and love and self-sacrifice, these things, we only learn them within the church. Outside, you're going to learn other things. Like, what do we think marriage is? You learn that in the church. Self-sacrifice, the crowns, like all these kind of things, right? Outside, you're not going to learn self-sacrifice. You're going to learn contract, right? You're going to learn, you do you. Protect yourself, right? Like
And self-love too. A lot of
self-love,
self-love.
self-care. If they don't care about you, just leave them. As long as you're okay. Forget about the kids. Like, completely different mentality than what a priest would tell you, right? So it's a different way of thinking, right? So it's, how do you develop discernment? The accuracy is that you have to be in the church. You have to like immerse yourself in your spiritual life. And over the years, and it takes years, you begin to think in a certain way and you begin to see things from a certain perspective, right? And there's no way around it. You have to do the work. I hate saying these terms because they've been hijacked by like modern society, right? But you have to do that work. You have to so you can understand what you're talking about. So it comes back to environment, it comes back to who's influencing you, it comes back to your friends, the friend groups that you have, it comes down to what you're consuming on social media and things like that. All these things form us and the way we think. So it's not an easy answer, but go to church, participate in the sacramental life of the church, read some scripture, pray daily, right? And speak to a spiritual father. Those are good ways to start.
Read books too.
Yeah, read books.
Yeah, read books too.
That'll be good too.
And I pick and choose when I fast and from what. For example, fasting first and fasting for frequent. Or who's very passionate about this. A video about that.
Yeah, I did a video about that. It's a pet. You want to answer?
No, you can't pick and choose when you fast.
Well, you
like,
can.
Okay. Technically, like, of course, people have certain limitations. People have dietary restrictions. People have illnesses, and they may need to adjust the fast. But they need to speak to their spiritual father for guidance on that. But the fasts have been set for us for a certain reason. Like, it's not for us to just pick and choose when we do them. Like, they're about obedience. We need to be obedient to the church. The church has set these things for us in its wisdom. In her wisdom, So it's not for us to discern whether it's right or wrong for us necessarily. Like, it's been set for us for a reason. Obedience and humility is the main thing that you need for that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good answer. It's like, this is a pet peeve of mine. It's a pet peeve of most priests, but I call it the Orthodox, the Greek Orthodox sandwich, because like it's like, you know, you got the bread, which is boring, but the good stuff's in the middle, right? It's all fast the first week and the last week, but in between, it's just a hedonistic fun fest, right? What? It's true.
I actually just saw a video the other day. A priest was saying that a man who doesn't fast is not capable of leading a family.
That's true.
And I agree with that too, because like fasting is very difficult. Like, it requires you to have so much self-control. And that self-control, it extends to other aspects of your life, whether it's self-control with like lust, or like with your health and fitness and just your overall lifestyle. Like, I feel like it's helped me control my passions. Fasting has helped me control my passions. So it's like, if you can't control what you eat, can you really control the other stuff?
You can't. So the Greeks loved, I can only speak from the Greek tradition, but I mean, it's human nature is human nature, right? But this is what you're going to hear from a lot of Greek people, especially old Greek men. But you hear it from women too and other people in the church. Usually people don't fast. They don't want to fast. They hear this and they'd be like, oh, it's not what goes into your mouth. It's what comes out of your mouth. You guys have heard this, right? It's like, as long as you're a good person, as long as you don't gossip and do all these things, it's not, the food's not important, right? We have to just be good people. Most definitely every person who says that doesn't fast. And most definitely every person who says that gossips and does and does. It's like the worst people, right? I'm not saying the worst people, I'm worse, but I'm just saying though that because I'm worse, I know that they're lying. Because I've said those lies to myself in my life, right? It's lies. These are all lies. Let's put to the side people who actually medically can't do the full fast. When I say full fast, like according to the rule, which is full vegan, right? Sometimes no oil as well, which is very difficult. I'm not saying it's easy. It's very hard, especially in our modern lifestyle that we live.
It's meant to be hard.
It's meant to be, but it's even worse now because when it was crafted back in the day, you didn't have Uber Eats, you didn't have McDonald's, you didn't even have meat every day, you didn't have meat every month because you had to kill an animal to have meat in agrarian lifestyle. So it's even harder for us now, but that's okay, right? That's okay. It's also easier because we have more vegan options. So it's like,
Yeah.
right? But let's put the people who actually have a medical condition that need an exemption for some level from their spiritual father. Let's put them on the side. That's like, let's be generous and say 5% of the population, right? Let's be even more generous. Let's say 10% of the population. What about 90% of us who are just fine? Generally, we're just fine. We can do it. We just choose not to. And all these excuses, I always say, listen, like, again, I'm not perfect. I struggle with it too, but the difference is that I believe in it. I may fall, I may make mistakes, I may be lazy, but I admit that I'm lazy. I admit that I fall. I admit that I make mistakes. I don't pretend that the goal is wrong. I don't pretend that it's not useful. No, it's eminently useful. It's just I suck. And I say it, I suck. But the thing is awesome, right? It's like going to the gym. The gym is good. The exercises are good. I am lazy and I don't want to go to the gym. But I don't confuse myself and say, the gym's not really necessary. I can be fit without the gym. No, or without exercise. It's a delusion. You can't be fit. And the church starts with food because food is the most basic biological need we have. What is it? Food, then sex, right? Procreation. As animals, as human beings, right? Like, this is the most fundamental needs we have.
I was going to say sleep.
Okay, sleep. Okay, fine. Sorry. Food, sleep, and then sex, right? But you know what I mean, right? It's like the biological drives for humanity, right? But food is the most basic because if you don't have food, you die, right? So that we start with the most basic to conquer the most basic needs, and then you move up the levels of the other spiritual passions, right? The other things. Find me a saint in the history of the church that is a saint and didn't fast. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. So I don't know why we think we can do it like that. Like, it's like I can just skip the thing, right?
Christ himself fasted.
Yeah, and he's God,
So, yeah,
right? Christ himself.
he showed us the example of what we need to do.
Yeah. So it is. It's one of those hard things that it's just until you do it and you give it a go and you really try hard, even if you fail, you won't know the benefits of it until you actually try it. And then when you start seeing the differences in your life and you start seeing your perception changes, right? Then you'll be like, okay, it's worth it. Why wasn't I trying this? So going back to the question, can I fast or change the fast according to my own likes and dislikes? You shouldn't, because it defeats the whole purpose of fasting, of being obedient to something, right? Because I'm tailoring it for myself so I can be lazy. It's not good. Yeah. That's it? We're done? Oh, there's more. Okay. What time is it?
9/11.
It's 9:11. What time are we going till? 9:30? And we'll go for coffee? Okay, yeah, let's do that.
What is the Orthodox perspective on the death penalty? What about euthanasia?
Oh. Okay, you're a lawyer. You talk about the death penalty. I'll talk about the youth in Asia.
But it's the Orthodox perspective.
I know, but I mean, I'm just curious what you have to say about it. As an Orthodox, almost lawyer.
I would say that I would say that it's not appropriate from an Orthodox perspective. Like, it's not for us to decide who dies and doesn't die. Like, I don't know. You're the priest. So I don't know.
So interestingly enough, I used to think that it's like the official position of the Orthodox Church that we're against the death penalty. I'm not saying my personal opinion here, right? Interestingly enough, there's a mixed bag in the Orthodox Church.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a mixed like amongst theologians and like different. I want to delve a little more deeper into this, like and look at like the kind of the two different sides. But like there are mixed opinions theologically on whether we should have the death penalty or not. I'm on the fence in a sense, like okay, killing is bad. Obviously, it's always bad. It's one of the commandments, right? Although it's kind of funny that you have the Ten Commandments in the Old Testament and killing is bad. But it's interesting that I was listening to an Orthodox speaker about this like some months ago, and the particular priest who was speaking, I can't remember his name, he was saying that in the Ten Commandments, when it says, thou shalt not kill, it doesn't actually say, thou shalt not kill. Do you know that?
No.
It says, don't commit murder. Oh, see? Yeah. Illegal, right? So it says you're not supposed to commit murder. Murder and killing are technically two different things. Because there's great, there's manslaughter, there's self-defense kill, there's killing in war, which is different than premeditated murder, that I want to kill somebody, right? So the Ten Commandments, technically, it forbids explicitly murder, which is a premeditated act against somebody else out of malice, out of hate. I want to kill that person. It doesn't cover anything else. Now, that doesn't mean it's a free-for-all. You should go kill people. What I'm saying is that it's a mixed bag, right? Because there's been a lot of different meditations on, what about soldiers? What about war? What about self-defense? What are our obligations to protect the vulnerable? Right? It's one thing to say and have this kind of like rosy, idealistic picture of like, if somebody broke into my house, I'm like a holy Orthodox Christian. I'm just let them kill me because I want to kill them because I'm a pacifist. Is that really the Orthodox position? I don't know if it is. I haven't really come across it that much.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe if you're alone and you choose to do that, but like what if your kids and wife are in the house and they're innocent and the person wants to attack them? What do? Do you not defend them? It's not so clear. And is that a sin? Is it a lesser sin? We're not going to figure this out tonight. I'm just saying, though, that it's a very nuanced question, and I think that there's room for debate on this. Obviously, generally speaking, killing is bad. The loss of life is bad. But then we get into the reality of life and like what are the lesser of two evils, for example, things like that, and do we view all killing the same, right? This is very, very interesting, right? And then how do they view this when they talked about wars and righteous war and things like that? People think that's only a Crusader thing. It's only a Western thing, but even in the Byzantine Empire, like people went to
Yeah.
war and things like that, and there was lesser penances for soldiers than there were for murderers and things like that, right? So it's very complex. What was the initial question? Was the killing? Well, euthanasia was the second part.
On the death penalty.
On the death penalty. So sorry. I was rambling. I'm sorry. So when you get into like the idea of the death penalty as the state killing somebody, as both a punishment but also as a deterrence, right? These are complex ethical issues, right? Like, okay, we don't have the right to kill anybody, okay, but it is the opposite that evil crime and acts go up in society? What is it a deterrent? Is it not a deterrent? Yeah. These are very complex questions, right? So, I don't know. I don't have a direct, a definitive answer. I just think that it's more black and white. Like, I don't want anybody to die, like at least not on my hand, or But are there situations, and especially in the history of mankind, where sometimes it was warranted to protect the innocent? Maybe. For like really, really, really bad people, right? I don't know. So I don't know. That's why I was interested to see what your take on it was, like even like from a legal point of view. But anyways,
The second part of the question is, what is church's stance on euthanasia for suffering people?
Yeah. So that we're against. Yeah, euthanasia we would be against. For all the reasons that we've already discussed tonight. It's like adversity is not something that we're supposed to be running away from. But rather we see it as opportunity for the soul's purification to prepare us for death and for birth into eternity, right? And so I'm not minimizing or dismissing people's suffering. As a priest, I'm with a lot of people who suffer a lot, and I'm with them at the end, and I've seen a lot of excruciating pain and a lot of like really horrible suffering. I'm not minimizing that, but there are two types of people at the end. There are ones who have faith and they bear the cross with fortitude and with dignity, even in the face of like horrible suffering. And there are people who don't. And the ones who don't are the ones who want to die. Kill me now, I want to escape it. They don't see any value. They don't no value in it, right? I understand that there's pain there. I understand that the pain just needs to stop. I understand that. And who knows what I would be saying in that situation of unbearable pain. But the goal is to understand that my focus is on Christ, and Christ carried himself to the end. And my goal is to carry myself to the end. I always remember when people ask me about euthanasia, I remember Holy Thursday night, when we celebrate the crucifixion, right? Like we do the 12 Gospels, right? And has anyone ever noticed the interesting detail in Luke's Gospel about when Christ is on the cross? What do they give him to drink? It's a little bit different in Luke's Gospel than it is in the other Gospels. So in the other Gospels, it's usually what? Vinegar, right? But in Luke's Gospel, it's myrrh mixed with gall. Does anyone know what that is? It's a really fascinating little detail. Because Luke was a doctor, right? So he picks up on these things. Myrrh mixed with gall is a narcotic. It's a narcotic. It's like our modern day morphine. Okay? So why would they try to give Jesus that? Anyone know? No? No one can guess? Yeah. So the Romans would do this because when we crucify somebody, it's horrific, right? Like people don't really understand how bad crucifixion is and how long it takes to die on a cross. It takes sometimes days to die on a cross, right? From slow asphyxiation, because you're hanging, can't breathe. You're constantly expanded, right? And the people would scream in agony and pain. And so the Romans, they didn't want to hear these people screaming all the time. It was a nuisance. So we want to dope them up. We want to shut them up, which is what we do in hospitals now, by the way. We under the guise of compassion, shut them up, so really we don't have to hear them cry or scream. So much for them, maybe, we don't know, right? So they try to give him a narcotic, and Jesus doesn't take it. Now think about that. he's nailed to the cross and he's dying and he's in agony, and they give him something that could ease his physical pain, and he rejects it. That's awesome. I use another word, but we're in a church. It's bad. Right? He's the man. Right? Because he doesn't shy away from his suffering. He accepts it fully. He doesn't mess around. He's not an escapist. He's not a wussy. He has courage. Right? And this is what we want to be till the end. Right? And I remember, I'm sorry I'm belaboring this, but I mean, it's a beautiful topic. And I've said this before in some of my sermons, but it's a beautiful story. I mean, yeah, like I used to go see a woman named Sister Agapia. You remember the story? Sister Agapia was a married woman who had ALS, which usually kills you within a few years, but some people have slow-moving ALS, which takes like 20 years. Like Stephen Hawking had ALS, he was in the chair. She was bedridden for like 25 years. Her husband's still with us, he's a wonderful human being, and her son. And in her old age, she got tonsured a nun. Because even though she was married, she wasn't living, like she was incapacitated, right? So it was her wish. So I used to go and visit her, and she had a horrible, by all accounts, she had a horrible life. Because she was, especially near the end, she couldn't, she was paralyzed, and she was sitting there, and she had forced air, like a plastic mask on, forced air to help her breathe 23 of the 24 hours a day. All the time. It's horrible, right? And so, I would go and see her weekly. At the beginning, they could bring her to the church, then she couldn't come to the church anymore, and I would go visit her. And I brought my kids to see her. And my kids were really young then. Like they were like, Katerina, I remember, like my twins, they were like 6. And I went because I wanted them to see dignity and strength. Because this woman, I would go to see her in the hospital, in the hospice, like in the seniors home where she was, as she was dying, and I would go there, and she wanted to do confession all the time and things like that, and I never heard this person, even though she was in agony, I never heard her complain. She never said, "Oh, my life sucks. Why God? Why me? I'm so good. Like, when is this gonna end? Can you please kill me now?" Like, it was always like I would take the mask off so she could whisper to me, and the only thing she would say over and over again was, "I am grateful that this is happening to me so that I can repent for my sins." Of course, this woman didn't have a lot of sins, right? And when it was time for her to die, again, awesome, the way she went, it got to the point where the forced air didn't work anymore. And so we had a meeting, and when I say we, they called me because I'm a pretty close family friend by then. So I remember I went, it was nighttime, and it was kind of like an emergency meeting with the doctor, the hospice doctor, the palliative care, myself, her husband, and her son, and we were all there, and the doctor saying, "Okay, listen, these are your options for palliative. The air doesn't work anymore for her lungs, so you have 2 options. You can either just leave her as she is, and she's probably going to die soon, right? Because she won't be able to breathe. She's going to drown in her own, right? With her lungs not working. Or we can trach her, and put a hole, and we can do the air directly into her lung, right? And she'll live longer. She's still going to die, but maybe you get like 2-3 months more, right? But the trade-off is that she won't be able to talk anymore because you affect your vocal cords, right? And it's a trade-off. What do you want to do? And they weren't asking us; they were asking her because cognitively she was still fine. She wasn't. She was sharp. What do you think she chose to do? Anyone? Which option? Option 1. That's right. Yeah. And why? Why do you think she chose not to do the trach and just to kind of like let it go, and whatever happens, happens, and die faster? See, some people tell me it's because she wanted to die. Because she was done. She was like, I'm done. Can't handle this anymore. Just the faster it happens, the better, right? That's not why she did it. Anybody can guess? Yes? Oh, you know. So she told us. She's like, well, we all looked at her, we're all extending her on the bed. She's like in the bed, and she's like, well, she goes, if they do the trach, I can't talk. If I can't talk, I can't confess. That's awesome. I can't do the sacrament of confession. I can't speak to the priest. So I'd rather die faster but do my confessions than lose that ability to prepare my soul. That's wicked. That's awesome. That was like very inspiring for me. That's why I took my kids to see this person. That's how you die. Not kill me before I even get there because I don't want to deal with it. Yes. Yeah, it is a very good question. And again, when we have these extreme situations, okay, they could be different situations. Like, they could write things, right? But even if, let's say, they can't write, what about people who are brain dead? What about people who can't? The grace of God will cover them. It'll be fine, right? Like, obviously, we don't get too legalistic about these things, right? And even if she, like, let's say she was incapacitated and she couldn't answer, and the family tricked her, of course, God is going to take care of her. But the fact that she made that choice, that's the point. It's not the legalism of how many confessions can I get in. She's not, God's not going to love her. Like, this person was like a holy person for me. Like, literally, I consider her to be a saint. Unfortunately, I don't think the church is ever going to recognize her as a saint, but I do, right? So it's like, it's the fact that she understood, like, she had her eye on Christ and she could bear everything, even through horrible, and that was like some of the most horrible suffering I'd seen in 20 or 18 years of being a priest. Yes. Yep. 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 Yeah, yeah. That's why it's Gnostic. Yeah, he's fully man. He's fully. Yeah. Yeah, does God feel the pain? Like, so these are kind of like, okay, to a certain degree, it's beyond our comprehension, right? But what we do know, what the fathers all agree on, is that as a man, he's fully God and fully man, but as a man, he feels it all. He doesn't like not feel it because he opts out of it. He feels everything. So it's the full human experience. It's not pretending. That's a heresy. It's called modalism or modalism anarchianism, right? It's like where basically it's God putting a mask to pretend to be a man, but he's not really. He's just pretending. It's not what he's doing. It's full humanity, right? So how that works, like as far as the two natures, this is a mystery, right? But as a man, he's fully. He's a guy. He's doing everything. Jesus had to go to the washroom. As weird as that is for us to think about, he had to eat. He had to sleep, right? That's why he's tempted. That's why he fasts. There's the physical side of it that needs to be nurtured. Yes. There. Yeah. He's like, he's sleeping right over there. Yeah. That's okay. So that's now we're moving to iconology. Like, this is different. The icon is not depicting to you the historicity of the event. It's depicting you theology. So the icon there is not there to teach you only what happened physically, because of course physically he would be in agony. If you were there, he'd be in pain, he'd be screaming, right? But the icon is not meant to teach you just that. The icon is teaching you what the spiritual reality on the inside is. That's what all the icons are doing. That's why they don't look realistic. They're not Renaissance paintings, right? And so this is emphasizing that even though he's crucified, he's also still in control. He's God. It's his plan. That's why it looks like he's standing. He's almost like he's lifting the world. He's not hanging. See what I'm saying? There's no weightiness to it. So it's a theological statement about the ultimate plan of God, right? Not to emphasize his pain, even though that would be there as well. So it's just two different things, I guess you could say. It's like than what we were talking about before. Yeah. Good questions.
Yeah.
9:30.
So this is going to be our last question for the night. But we're going to decide between two questions. So the first question is how to deal and treat classmates of different beliefs and ways of life. And then the next question is, what do we as Christians do about all the stuff that's going on in the world? And then if your answer is a population offensive. Yeah. So which one do you want? First one from Canada. Okay. And second one from Canada. I actually only saw the from Canada. Can you do that
I
again?
can answer both in 3 seconds.
Do that.
I can answer both in 3 seconds.
You can answer both.
Nothing and nothing.
No, it's how do you treat them?
Oh, yeah. No, but you said, how do you treat them who have different beliefs and whatever, right? So it's like you would treat them like you would treat any other human being, because it's not your job to debate with them about religion or to convert them or do any of those things. Just be an Orthodox Christian and be kind to other human beings. If somebody asks you a question, you answer. If you don't worry about it.
You show respect and you show them the right example.
You know, it's simple. Like, it's not, don't feel like you have to, it always has to be a polemic. I know what you're getting at, because I need to go and be the champion of orthodoxy. No, you don't. And first of all, who are you to be the champion of orthodoxy? I'm not the champion of orthodoxy, and I've been studying theology for 20 years, right? How about we just try to focus on our own faith, which sounds very selfish, and live by example, and let everything else follow. Let God deal with those people. Why do I have to deal with those people, right? And second of all the stuff going on in the world, do nothing. It doesn't concern you. Why? Because we have social media and we watch TikTok videos about what's going on in Gaza and Afghanistan and this and that, and we think we know something. We don't know anything. We don't live there. We know nothing about the politics. We don't read books anymore. Sorry, you can tell I'm a little passionate about this stuff because I hear it all the time, right? And then universities are just training like young people to become activists instead of actually critically think. Students, no offense to you guys because you're students, we know nothing about what's going on in the real world, and we have no experience of what's going on across the globe on the other side. All we know is what we get fed from social media, and that is not even a quarter of it. And I'm not saying it because I know better, but as a person who's actually visited some of those places multiple times in my life, I've actually been to the West Bank, I've actually been to Gaza, I've actually been to Israel, I've actually been to Egypt, I've actually been to Syria, okay? Actually have seen these places. Seeing these places and interacting with the people and what you see on the news are night and day. And what we think we know about geopolitics. Everyone's an expert. No, we're not. We don't know anything. So focus on your life here. Don't worry about that. There's always going to be suffering in the world. There's always going to be wars in the world. Before we had social media, nobody cared. Nobody did. I'm not saying you shouldn't care, but I mean, nobody cared. Right? That's how selfish we are as human beings. Right? Focus on your life here. Focus on your local community. Focus on people you can help here. Don't worry about what's going on in Iran and this and that, and you get bombarded by these things, right? You're not going to change it. The only thing you can do is pray for those people. That's it. Pray for everybody. Pray for both sides. Don't take sides. Don't sit here and say this guy's right and this person's wrong and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't affect you, right? Just pray. That's it. More than 3 seconds, I'm sorry.
You have a question?
Yes. You can disagree. I don't care. I don't mind. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I understand there's like what you're saying about many God example, but of course it's many of the Muslims feel like they can say the same thing. We're good people, but they're following real people.
Yeah. Well, why does that bother you?
Because like I hear my friends who are Muslims.
So how would you go about teaching them the error of their ways?
Well, like when I approach Catholic friends, I try to show them the practice of theology.
You think you're going to argue people into a new faith?
Absolutely.
Absolutely not. Doesn't work.
Of course you don't work.
No, I'm just telling you, it doesn't work. I see it with catechumens. I see it with converts to the Orthodox faith. Intellectualism most definitely does not convert people to the truth. It might get them to look into it. It's usually a shallow conversion. They usually fall away very quickly. Trust me, this is like I'm not saying I know everything. I'm just saying that It looks like it at the moment because you're in an academic setting, and this is the way we think in the West. It's not your fault. I'm not saying you're wrong. Like your heart is in the right place, right? But I'm telling you that you would be better serving them by living a proper Orthodox example in your own personal life of sanctity than by trying to debate them out of their faith. Their job is to debate you into their faith. That's all they care about, and they learn passages on purpose to try to discredit you. Protestants do the same thing the other way. It's called proof texting. We would do well not to engage. Not because nobody should engage. There should be some Orthodox theologians who do engage, but it shouldn't be, no offense to you or anybody else, I don't know who you are. What I'm saying is that it should definitely not be newbies. It shouldn't be people who think they know the faith, but meanwhile, I'm an Orthodox priest, right? I've been an Orthodox priest for 18 years, okay? I don't know anything. I don't go online and debate people. Not because I'm afraid, not because, and my job is to teach. That's my job. If anybody should be debating, it should be the priests or the bishops. Those are the people who are tasked as defenders of the faith in that sense. Not defenders of the faith, it's a bad term, right? Because God doesn't need us to defend him, right? God defends us, right? That's what we have to remember. But if anybody should be debating, it should be us, not lay people. Not because no lay people know, but I mean, everybody's debating online now. Everybody's debating in the school environment, right? And usually we are saying a lot of things that are not right. And we're not, because we have inexperience in these things. We've read a few books, we've watched some TikTok videos, whatever. I'm not degrading the things that you know. I'm not saying you're worse than me, you're no more than me, right? What I'm saying is that these are traps, these are spiritual traps. They're not good for you spiritually, they're not good for them, and you're not going to convert them in this way. How did St. Paisios convert people?
Through his example.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what did St. Herman of Alaska, what did he say? Acquire the spirit of peace and 1,000 people around you will be saved. He didn't say go debate them or, be smarter about the scripture or, show them, they're not even dealing with the same presuppositions. You can't debate a Muslim who believes that the Bible that you're using is already corrupt. It doesn't matter what you say to them. It doesn't matter how many ways you point it out to them. They will not believe it. The only way a Muslim is going to come and become an Orthodox Christian, or anybody else for that matter, is if they have an encounter with Christ. And they're not going to encounter Christ through debate. They're going to encounter Christ through a mystical experience, usually of love. This is my opinion. I could be wrong. But I mean, if I'm wrong, hopefully God will correct me. But I mean, it's very easy to get sucked into these things, right? I'm going to save them. Who are you to save them? Christ saves them. It's okay. It'll be fine. Yes?
Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you. Oh, St. Seraphim, I'm sorry. Sorry, it was St. Seraphim of Sarah, not St. Herman of Alaska, who said, acquire the spirit of peace. I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction. My lawyer. Here, thank you. Sorry, I'm an idiot.
It's okay.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll do a group shot, yeah? Let's move this out of the way. Yeah, okay, let's turn off.
Or we just sit here. Everyone goes away.
I want to move the things because we won't have enough space for everybody else. It's a thingy-majiggy. It just goes off, see? Just pop it in. It's cool, right? Oh, no, there.